Hello dear friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Gagandeep Kaur, Assistant Professor, Khalsa College of Education, Ranjit Avenue, Amritsar. In this module, we will discuss the issues relating to the management of public institutions. After studying this module, you will be able to define the meaning of public institutions, explain the various features of public institutions, discuss the historical background of these institutions, understand the various types of public institutions in India. You will be able to describe various issues related to the management of public institutions in India. Understand the need and importance of these institutions in uplifting the level of schools' education system. Realize the immediate need to resolve the issues related to the management of public institutions. Recognize the immediate need to solve the issues related to the management of public institutions. Well, students, we will start here with the meaning of public institute. So, what is public institute in terms of educational field? It means an institute which is intended for the general public or for the common man. The term public institute denotes a special type of institute run by a private body. And in the field of education, it provides greater facilities for the students. We all know that in these private institutes, there is a good staff, proper methodology of teaching, provision of co-curricular activities. The building, equipments, library of these private institutes and many other things are considerably superior to those of our traditional institutions. But the education in these institutes is quite expensive. So, only a minority of the population in our country can afford to go in these institutes for study. Well, students, here I would like to clarify that public institutes refer to public schools, and in the field of education, public institutes are very important because they impart quality education to our youth. As we all know, the miserable condition of children in our traditional institutes is there. So, these schools extensively provide the all-round development of their pupils by inculcating in them a keen sense of duty, qualities of leadership, civic virtues, mutual cooperation and understanding. Because the students are provided with ample opportunities for work, play and other activities of their interest and liking. Well, students, these institutes were founded for some serious and best motive. In fact, these institutes fulfilled our expectations to a great extent. But we cannot deny the darker aspects, that is the burning issues related to the management which prohibits them to achieve the target of quality education. So, here we will discuss the concept of public institutions. Several attempts were made in England to define a public school. In 1810, Sidney Smith has defined public school in an article, the Edinburgh Review. He said, by a public school, we mean an endowed place of education of old standing to which the sons of gentlemen resort in considerable numbers and where they continue from 8 or 9 to 18 years of age. Actually, he said so because at that time only the children of rich persons could afford the public schools. Similarly, in 1921, Samuel Butler, headmaster of Shrewsbury, explained the concept of public schools. Firstly, he said that it is a school open to public, that is a school to which persons from all parts of the kingdom are in the habit of sending their children for education. Public school is a one in which boys are educated in higher departments of literature with a view to their entrance into public life. It has ample foundation endowed with valuable exhibition. It is the one in which competition is tough and the boys educated there distinguish themselves by obtaining public honors at the universities. So, it was the basic meaning of public schools. Next, we will discuss about the prominent features of public institutions like these schools have limited class size. Admissions are carried out on the merit basis. They have well qualified staff. They are usually residential. These are adequately equipped with all the resources. They possess academic freedom, and these public schools have English as a medium of instruction. They provide extensive program of co-curricular activities. Their working is properly pre-planned, and these have little interference from the government. These are financially sound. Their main emphasis is on the character building. So, in the earlier times, studying in these schools were considered as a lucky charm, and it was the matter of pride. Well, students, next we will discuss the historical background of public schools around the world. This system originated in England. The first public school was opened in the year 1180 AD during the reign of King Canute, and he established public schools in the cities and towns by appointing the masters in the schools. All the expenses of the scholars were to be met from the royal purse. The second foundation was the foundation of great tradition. It was established in 1384, and William of Wykeham, a bishop of Winchester, laid the foundation of the great tradition of public schools in England by establishing the Winchester School. In 1440, the foundation of Eton was laid by King Henry IV, following the model of Winchester. The 16th and the 17th centuries were a period of great boom in the national economy, commerce, and other spheres, and in this period, many developments in the field of education occurred. It was during this period that schools like Rugby, Harrow, Shrewsbury, Charterhouse were established. Students, these schools are well known all over the world for their quality, education, and contribution. Eton Public School alone produced 10 Prime Ministers of England and several Governor-Generals for India. The saying that the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playfields of Eton tells us about the spirit that the public school of Eton inculcated in its pupils. Our late Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru received his school education at Harrow Public School. These public schools are one of their kinds, as they are maintaining high standard of education. These are catering to the entire needs of their pupils with regard to all-round development of their personalities. Next, we will discuss about the development of public schools in India. The system of public schools in India is a legacy of the British rule. Majority of them are the products of post-independence period, and in the British period, these were opened specifically for the education of the children of British officers. Well, students, two well-known public schools were opened in India towards the middle of 19th century. These were Bishop Cotton School, Shimla, the Lawrence School, Sanavar. But with the passage of time, large number of such schools were opened. The earlier public schools had certain common features, like they all were secondary institutions. They were mostly residential, and they prepared the students for the Indian School Certificate Examination. Their headmasters were, and even now are, the members of IPSC, that is Indian Public School Conference. According to the Secondary Education Commission 1952-53, the IPSC recognized only 14 public schools as its members. So here, I would like to mention these schools. These are Doon School, Dehradun, Delhi Public School, Delhi, Bishop Cotton School, Simla, Lawrence School, Sanavar, Lawrence School, Lovedale, Yadvinder Public School, Patiala, Shivaji Public School, Pune, Scindia School, Gwalior, Modern School, New Delhi, Maharani Gayatri Devi Girls Public School, Jaipur. Rajkumar College, Raipur. Sardul Public School, Bikaner. Mayo College, Ajmer. Rajkumar College, Rajkot. The total number of member schools of the Indian Public School Conference arose to 44 by 1969. So, till independence and even a few years after it, these schools continued getting handsome grants from the Government of India as well as from the state governments. The Secondary Education Commission of 1952-53 observed that we believe that so far as they are expensive schools and are largely meant for the richer classes, they have no claim to receive state aid, and the government grants that are presently given to them should be steadily reduced and be given to them on a gradually diminishing scale. Within the next few years of these recommendations, the government grants were withdrawn. But now these institutions are self-sufficient in respect of financial liability. Well, students, this was all about the historical development of public schools in India and abroad. Next, we will discuss about the different types of public schools in India. So, students, how we can classify the public schools? Well, first of all, there are some schools like schools for princely families, schools which are meant for richer families like Mayo College, Ajmer, Rajkumar College at Raipur come under this category. Second type can be the schools for Europeans and Anglo-Indians. These schools were once meant for European and Anglo-Indian children, and now these are open to Indian students as well. The third type are like the children of military officers schools. These schools formally satisfied the needs of the children of military persons. The schools are now accessible to other children as well. For example, Lawrence School at Sanavar and Lovedale are open to non-military persons also. Fourth type we can say are the public schools which are purely Indian in character. Recently, a few public schools have been developed for Indian children such as Delhi Public School, Modern School, New Delhi, etc. A large number of convent schools and mission schools have been established which are being run on public school lines. The fifth type is Sainik schools. There are some Sainik schools which are being run on public school system such as Sainik School Kapurthala, Sainik School Karnal. Sainik School Jamnagar, Gujarat, Sainik School in West Bengal, Sainik School in Bhubaneswar, in Amravati and Sainik School in Lucknow and Pune, etc. The sixth type we can say are the public schools for girls such as Maharani Gayatri Devi Girls Public School, Jaipur. So students, these were the types of public schools, and we will next discuss some of the issues related to the management of these schools. As we have some burning issues regarding the management of these institutions which obstruct the effective functioning of these institutions. Like the first issue is that nowadays public institutions are facing the challenges similar to the private enterprises. Such challenges involve globalization, competition, diversity, financial restrictions, quality assurance and investment in new technologies. The online degrees and academic accreditation has affected the policy initiatives and planning. The second issue is the financial restrictions and budget constraints which put impact on the upgrading of our laboratory equipments. The third issue is that the financial position of management of these public institutions is not as sound as government. So, public institutions have little endorsement and possess few donations. Therefore, they charge high tuition fees. Students, another issue we can say is fee structure. Fees still constitute about 70% of the income, and as a ceiling is to be maintained in the increase in fees. Thus, the management resort to the undesirable practice of increasing the number of students. Then, another issue is sometimes the management of these public institutions prevent independence and originality. They do not give preference to the staff members. Well, this issue should be resolved. Students, another challenge here is the mushrooming of these institutions or its branches. So, keeping a check on the management of all the aspects of these institutions is a difficult task. Another practical issue we face is that the members of management are not the educationists and they do not have any practical experience of the educational administration or management. Sometimes these are just managed by the business persons who may not be even past their secondary education. Lack of continuity in policy is another important issue. For management of these institutes, the policies formulated and implemented by previous managements proves vague for the new managements. Bureaucracy in management of public institutions prohibit the transparency and integrity in the public sector. The e-government services are key tools for improving urban management, and a higher level of e-government services is needed in order to transform the interactions between management of public institutions. Like in many cases, information is stored in separate databases for proper information delivery between the public administration and the citizens. For example, providing downloadable documents, forms in electronic format and making them accessible through the internet. So, students, other issues like lack of support, lack of clear regulation for financial reporting could lead to failures, and lack of statesmanship and consistent policy is the other burning issue. So, we know the attempts have been made here and there to adapt an outworn system to the conditions of modern life, but due to lack of statesmanship, still the target has not been achieved. Also, not evolving the national goals is the issue of administration, planning and management of education in public institutions. The basic factors of national integration, like the medium of instruction or the age of admission in the university, are agitating the minds of the people. So, vague and uncertain planning by the management is one of the prominent issues of public institutions. Actually, planning by them sometimes lack educational content, means it has existed in paper only and its implementation is always delayed. Another issue is that the education has not been unified under an umbrella, whether at the center or at the state level or even under local authorities. Since excessive emphasis is there to maintain uniformity and rigidity, which puts pressure on managements of public institutions. The rigid departmental attitudes sometimes become inappropriate to manage. It also kills the freedom and initiative, thus reduce experimentation to the minimum. Another issue is biculturalism and bilingualism, that is providing high quality education while complying with state, federal and tribal standards. It is a challenging task and is very difficult under the conditions of limited population that may be bilingual and bicultural. It is critical for the administrator to know how to integrate the supplemental programs such as Title IV Indian Education Act and Title VII Bilingual Education Act into the regular school program. Other problem is maintaining parent community involvement, because it is very important to establish and sustain meaningful parent and community involvement. In addition, good personal contact is needed to understand the reason of student absenteeism, his withdrawal or dropping out. There is a need to understand the personal and family situations of the students which affect students' school life. Recruitment of bilingual and bicultural teacher. The administrator must pay special attention to recruiting and retaining quality staff members, particularly bilingual, bicultural teachers and counselors. A related aspect is the need to make teachers, counselors and other professional staff aware of the local language and culture through in-service training. Other issues of public institutions except the issues related to management of public institutions are like reservation, expensive education, unsocialistic system, lack of true leadership, unhealthy competition, lack of coordination and inappropriate criteria of admission. So, public institutions therefore will have to acquire new insights into the problems of education for a change, for reconstruction of their structures by reorienting their staff members. After studying these all issues, we can say that management should be concerned itself much with the human relations by properly organizing the material aspects, and it should strive to bind together all the human elements in the system in a purposive link for the sake of goal-directed decision making and for efficient translation of the goals into the action. Thus, educational system anywhere and at any time in human history is fundamentally a system of values, a normative social institution that concerns with the totality of human existence and not just the aggregation of structures or programs. It is the values that essentially determine the nature of educational structures, processes and consequently the nature of the management. The vision of the management of the public institutions can be made clear by resolving all these issues of management. If we will talk about the strengths of public institutions, that are also many. Although there are certain issues related to the management of the public institutions, we cannot ignore the dynamism and utility which constitute an invaluable asset in the development of education in the country. It will always continue to play a vital role in the development of education. In this connection, Dr. K.L. Sirimali, a Union Minister of Education, stated that it would be wrong to suggest that the public schools which charge high fees should be closed. Dr. Sirimali also added that institutions like public schools had rendered a distinct service to the society by providing a better type of education. He said that these schools were independent and did not receive any aid from the government. These institutions rendered good service to the society and these should be encouraged. So, it should be praised that the country owes much to the public institutes as administrative bodies, and it is therefore necessary for conducting a large-scale survey of the different activities of public institutions in order to know about the broad principles on which they should be organized. The spheres of their activities should be well defined. Several questions are here, like what should be the future of these institutions in India? How their plans should be coordinated in a whole country? How financial resources should be pooled together? How public opinion should be created in favor of such activities? So, the problems cannot be solved by an individual here or there or by some local initiative. We should let the command of these institutions in the hands of some sincere intellectual educators from all over the country who do not delight in publicity alone and to whom the national cause is important than their own advancements. These persons should be supported by the central and state governments. Their role should be like promoting lifelong learning, improving the quality of work, ensuring the safety of students and enhancing financial investment. So, today we need to assess the past and present successes and failures relating to contemporary issues of management of public institutions. The guidelines should be brought up, shared and discussed for effective management. To summarize this topic, we can say that public institutions are playing an important role in imparting quality education by providing academic freedom, by emphasizing on character building, by extensive curricular and co-curricular activities. These institutes, as we discussed, have its origin back in the British period, which gradually emerged into its present system. These on one side have innumerable qualities, but on the other side it is facing certain burning issues like challenges of globalization and diversity, financial restrictions, budget constraints, lack of independence, lack of statesmanship, vague and uncertain planning, delay in implementation of educational policies, excessive emphasis on uniformity and rigidity, expensive education, unsocialism, lack of true leadership, unhealthy competition, lack of coordination, which are obstructing the efficient functioning of public institutions. Students, I hope that now you become aware of the concept of public institution, its functioning and development. So, thanks for watching.